Gina DeLuca here. All right, so today I'm going to be doing another stretched chameleon cell piece, but I'm going to be using some monochromatic colors. I want to see what kind of effects I can get with that. So that is going to be the fun test for today. The colors I am using, this is Liquitex Basics Titanium White. I had to put it in a nondescript tub because it arrived in a cracked container. This is Loft Unbleached Titanium. This middle color here is a mixture of the Arteza Raw Sienna, the Loft Burnt Umber, and the Unbleached Titanium. So that is actually a mixture of the three colors, because this alone the color did not really do it for me. It was a little too mustardy. But by adding some of the Burnt Umber and the Unbleached Titanium, it ties all of those colors together. And so that's a trick that I use when I have a color that's kind of just not quite right. I will add another color from that palette into it, and it pulls it together. These paints have been mixed 1 part paint to 2 parts Floetrol. And that mixture is then thinned with my concoction of 90% water, 10% Floetrol, until I get the consistency that I'm looking for. This is about it's kind of in between a 2.5 and a 3. It's a thick 2. But it's making a mound on a mound, but it disappears pretty quickly. And it's making a nice even stream off of my stick. That's what you want. You don't want it to be getting thick and then thin and thick and then thin. That means you need to mix it more. Before we get started, have you seen the Fluid Art inspiration cards? If you have, you can fast forward about a minute, but if you have not, what we have are 52 cards. There are 42 technique cards, and each technique card has an associated video here on YouTube that gives you all of the information that you need: the exact paint, brand, color, consistency, the recipe, of course, the technique, all of the things that I can't fit onto a card. This is the picture in that painting. This box contains a tip for that particular technique, and here at the bottom you have the color palette that was used in that painting. And then these 2 boxes can be used together as the basis of a 2-color palette. You can build off of those colors. And there are 8 bonus color palette cards. Each one has 5 color palettes. You can use all of the colors or just some of the colors, mix and match the bonus color palette cards with the technique cards, and you have more combinations than you could ever paint in a lifetime. These are available at my website, ginadeluca.net, and also at amazon.com. Okay, if I was doing a straight pour, I would put my paints in the cup last, but I'm going to be doing a flip cup, so I am going to layer my cup first. I'm going to put just enough white paint to cover the bottom. And then I'm going to layer in my paints from lightest to darkest. I kind of want gradient cells if I can get them. I don't know if this will work or not, but that is the experiment. So I'm going to do 3 layers of each color. Always check your consistency before putting it in the cup. It can thicken up as it's standing. Even just 5 minutes can make a difference. So I checked these before I started the video and they were fine. Does not hurt to be thorough. I like to troubleshoot before there's trouble. Again, just as it sits, it can thicken up. Areas can thicken up, and you just want to make sure it is nice and smooth before you pour it, so you don't have any thick areas. Okay, just a touch of the white. I want this to be mostly browned. Just a little bit of white in there for some extra contrast. Okay, again, bit of white. And then the rest of these paints. Okay. When you start off with good colors, like, there's no way that these could mix into ugly colors. They all work together, so you're just going to get different blends and variations. I'm just going to fill this up a bit more. Okay. Now for the base coat. So typically, if I were using a colored paint for my base coat, I would cover my edges first, especially when I'm using Floetrol. Floetrol doesn't necessarily give you the absolute best coverage on the sides, but because white is going to be my base coat, then I don't need to do that. I lay down a base coat so that my paints slide around easier and more evenly. Something has to stick to the canvas first, and if it is not your base coat, it is going to be your poured paints. And if you are using silicone, I cannot recommend using a base coat enough. If you're doing a flip cup with silicone in it and you do not have a base coat down, if the paint that has the silicone in it is the first thing to hit your canvas, it's going to push the other paints away and you're going to end up with bald spots on your canvas. So if that has happened to you, that is why. There is oil on the canvas and it is pushing the paints away. The silicone is hydrophobic. We know that word because of my straight pours. But yeah, so it's hydrophobic, and if you get the oil on the canvas before the paint won't stick to the canvas. And that can just be your fingerprints as well. So start with clean hands or gloves when you are taking out your canvas. If you're not using silicone and it's still doing that, then you should maybe just try cleaning the hands first. That might help. Okay, so now we are going to flip the cup. Sometimes I use a tool to lay it down. Today I'm just going to flip it. Be adventurous. Let's make a mess, shall we? That's not too bad. I can already see these colors are going to look really pretty together. And once I pull this cup up, I will lay it on its side, just in case I need a little extra to zhuzh it up a bit on the corners. Sometimes the corners need some help, because this is going to sit for a minute as I make the chameleon cells. All right, I like to let my flip cup sit for a second just so it can pull away from the bottom. Adding the extra paint to the edges can be very helpful. Into your corners. Okay, just gonna sit that on its side. I still have some white in here. That can be helpful as well. Quick pop with the torch. Old Bernie 2 times, doing what he does. Never late's the first try. Okay, I have some Hask Argan Oil. I do like the results that I get from this. I'm just going to put a squirt on my work surface here, and I'm going to dip into that. Just a little squirt on the paper. I have a skewer, just a regular run-of-the-mill skewer. And I'm going to get some of that on the tip there. And I am going to decide where I'm going to want these cells. Do I want to follow? Yeah, I think that's what I'll do. I'll kind of follow this pattern. And I'm trying not to dip all the way to the canvas because I don't want the silicone touching the canvas. So I'm trying to stay a little above that. So I just kind of dip it in and hold it there for a second. Okay, so that first one doesn't seem to be doing much. I'm going to come in again. See if that helps. You know, deciding what the design is going to be, that's going to be different for every painting. Sometimes you just have to work with what's in front of you, decide whether you're going to go along with the patterns that nature has already provided you, or if you want to just do a spiral. That is your artistic choice. Today, I'm going with what the universe has given me. And you see, as they sit, they're growing because silicone is hydrophobic and it is pushing away the water that is in the paints. And I imagine, and this will be a test, a follow-up test, if I were to go thinner, what different effect would that have? Would the paints break up? Or would the cells just get bigger because there is a higher water content? So that will probably be the next test. I will do maybe a consistency of a 2 and see what effect that has. Okay, gonna do a few more here. The longer I let these sit, the more they're going to grow. So I'm going to be patient and allow these to develop as well. Patience is so, so very, very important in pouring. Many different aspects of it, most particularly when it comes to stretching and allowing your cells to develop. Or I should say, allowing your cells to develop before you stretch. Because that will give you bigger cells. If you start with tiny cells and you stretch them, you'll end up with medium cells. If you start with big cells and stretch them, you'll wind up with gigantic cells. A little thing that I discovered on video number 16 when my torch stopped working, and it took me about 7 to 10 minutes to fix it. So as I was fixing my torch, I was in the other room and I came back and there were a whole bunch of cells. And when I stretched it, it turned out super cool. And that was basically the first boulder cell painting. Video 16, I believe I said that. So this process is a process. It takes a minute. But so far, I have really enjoyed the results that I've gotten from doing these stretch chameleon cells. I like the regular chameleon cells, but I am very, very OCD, and for me, it is more beneficial to my mental health to have these somewhat randomized. Because if I try to do something that appears symmetrical and there is one that is out of place, it will drive me crazy for all eternity. So that's how I roll. But y'all feel free to do it how you like. You can stretch it and then do the chameleon cells and create patterns that aren't going to move on you. But I kind of like the organic factor of what happens to these when they're stretched, and I think the cells get more interesting as they're stretched. Although if I were using Rain-X right now, like this would be giving me flowers, and then when I stretch them, they turn into jellyfish. So that can be a whole thing depending on what you're going for. If I wanted to do an underwater thing and throw a couple of jellyfish in there, I might, you know what, maybe I'll add that to my list of things I'm going to do. Make some chameleon cell jellyfish. Okay. So I think I'm just going to leave this the way it is. Maybe not touch these areas. A lot of this is going to get stretched off anyway, so it's kind of not... What I do on the edges would just kind of be a waste because this is going to stretch a lot. But I don't want to do anything in here, I don't think. Well, maybe I'll just do a couple right there so I can just see what it would look like and it'll get stretched off. But I'm curious how those cells back here would look. Okay. So I could let this sit for a little longer and let these cells get bigger. But I think it might be kind of cool to have bigger cells on one side and then they kind of get a little smaller. So maybe that's what I'm going to do here. I have a little bit of white left here. I'm just going to give a little extra love to these corners so the paint slides off easier. All right. Okay, so now we are about to get to the spinning. You do not have to spin fast. That is not necessary. It will get to where it's going. If you've ever had a painting that wasn't level, you know how much it can move overnight. Let me just give one more quick torch. Or not. I think my torch just bit the bullet. Lovely. Another one bites the dust. Oh, there we go. Okay, so we do not have to spin this fast. It's going to get there. And actually, the slower you spin it, the more control you're going to have, the better eye you're going to be able to keep on it. So for instance, right now this side is pulling a lot faster than that side. And what I can do is slide my canvas over a little bit more to this side, and it will pull that side harder. That side will be getting that centrifugal force harder than look what's happening in the center. It's like those spinny merry-go-round things at the playground. If you're in the center of it, it doesn't really have that much of effect, except it just makes you dizzy. If you're on the edge of it, you're holding on for dear life because you feel like you're going to be spun out into orbit. Okay, looking good. Okay, just a little bit more to get those corners covered. And then we can adjust for composition. Going to slide this corner. I want that to get some pull. Almost there. If the very, very corners aren't covering, you can always just take some of your drippings and help it along. Just kind of drip it over the edge in a natural looking fashion. And then give it another spin. And it will look magnificent. Okay, another spin here. I am trying to get rid of this experimental cell over here. There are cup hooks on the bottom of this canvas that just kind of fit just right on the spinner, which is why it's not sliding. But also, I'm not spinning so hard that it would slide off. Another reason to be gentle and slow. I want to give this corner a bit more of a stretch as well. You can see the more I stretch this, the more these cells like kind of take on life, because they're kind of playing with each other, they're pulling on each other, and it gives it this very organic effect. Just the changing shape of the cells and how they bend into each other. I just think that's very cool. And I can keep spinning this, and it's going to keep stretching and stretching and stretching, and I could probably spin this to the point where it's nothing but cells. Almost. I really am trying to maximize the size of these cells. So I am spinning a lot. This is a long video, I know. All right. Is that it? I think maybe just a hair more. Just let it do what it's gonna do. Look how big these cells have gotten. Love that. All right, that's it. That's it. I'm gonna leave this alone. I like this little section here. This little dark patch right there looks like a shadow, so that's cool. Okay, I'm gonna leave this alone. I'm gonna clean up. I'm gonna bring in for a close-up. Back in a few. Okay, here it is. Really happy with how this came out. Those cells are huge. They are interesting. They have a very cool organic shape. The colors are much better in person than what I am seeing on the camera. It's looking a lot darker on the camera than what I'm seeing with my eyes. But some really cool things going on. I love that little shadow area. But there it is. Monochromatic stretch chameleon cells. I'll probably have more fun with those. Different color schemes. I'm having fun with these. It's different. I like it. But I hope you learned something. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, please do like, share, and subscribe. If you are subscribed, make sure you have clicked that bell so you get notifications of new content. I will be putting up more content. I promise you. I'm getting my studio back in order, and it's coming. I promise. I was planning on doing it this week, but I had a pipe burst in my driveway. It was from the well to the house, so I had a fountain in my driveway. So I had no water. Can't paint with no water. So I was planning on getting going this week. So we're going to start again now. But do check out the description box below for links to my PayPal tip jar if you feel so inclined. Patreon, join us over there. Some exclusive content on how to get boulder cells and the splash painting. How to draw a little bit of that in there. So check that out, and also their affiliate links and coupon codes are in the description box below. Use those links and those codes, and I will receive a small commission at no additional cost to you. Also, in the description box, you will find the link to my website, GinaDeLuca.net, where you can find my art, music, and fluid art inspiration cards for sale. There will be new, fresh art ending up on that website very soon. Also, I will be having an auction coming up in the next few weeks, so stay posted. I'll keep you posted on that. Stay tuned. That's what I meant to say. And last but not least, join us at our Facebook group, Go Make Some Art. Post your masterpieces, ask your questions, get some inspiration. A good time is had by most. Those look like eyeballs. Whoa. Look, creepy eyeballs. There's another set of eyes in there. This painting is looking at me. Maybe this one's going to be called, Here's Looking at You, Kid. Anyway, that probably just freaked a bunch of people out. Now they hate this painting. That's it for me. I hope you all have a beautiful day. Did I say about go make some art? Yes, I did. Okay, that's it. Have a beautiful day, y'all. Go make some art.